On January 29, 2025, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order that sent shockwaves through the international community. This order outlined a controversial plan to repurpose a portion of the Guantanamo Bay naval base in Cuba. Once slated for closure, the base will now house a detention facility for up to 30,000 migrants. These individuals, labeled criminal illegal aliens by the Trump administration, are those deemed too dangerous to be returned to their home countries. This move marks a significant escalation in Trump's hardline immigration policies, reigniting debates about human rights and the rule of law. This executive order, coming just days after the 22nd anniversary of the opening of Guantanamo's military prison, has been met with a firestorm of criticism. The base, long a symbol of America's controversial approach to detention and interrogation, is now set to play a central role in Trump's second term. While the administration insists this is a necessary step to secure the border and protect American citizens, critics see it as a dangerous precedent. They argue that detaining migrants, many fleeing violence and persecution, in a facility notorious for human rights abuses, sends a chilling message to the world. The order itself is short on specifics, leaving many questions unanswered. The administration has yet to clarify which migrants will be sent to Guantanamo, how long they will be detained, or what legal recourse they will have. The lack of transparency has only fueled concerns among human rights groups and legal experts. They fear that the facility will operate outside the bounds of U.S. law, with detainees subject to indefinite detention without due process. The facility designated for migrant detention is separate from the high-security prison that has housed suspected terrorists since 2002. It is an extension of the existing Migrant Operations Center, a facility with a troubled past. While the administration claims Guantanamo can accommodate 30,000 individuals, the current state of the Migrant Operations Center is unclear. Reports suggest that it has fallen into disrepair, with questions about its capacity to humanely house such a large population. Adding to the logistical challenges, Guantanamo Bay is a remote military base located on leased Cuban territory. This isolation, while appealing from a security standpoint, makes it difficult to monitor conditions and ensure the humane treatment of detainees. Furthermore, staffing the facility will require a significant deployment of personnel and resources. Given the base's remote location, this will be a costly and logistically complex undertaking. The Trump administration has yet to release a detailed plan outlining the operational aspects of the detention center. Questions remain about the provision of food, water, medical care, and other essential services. The lack of transparency surrounding these crucial details has done little to quell concerns about the potential for abuse and neglect. The legality of detaining migrants at Guantanamo Bay, even those accused of crimes, is a subject of intense debate. Critics argue that transferring individuals from the U.S. mainland to a military base in Cuba, effectively circumventing U.S. law, sets a dangerous precedent. They point to the fact that Guantanamo has long existed in a legal gray area, with detainees stripped of many of the protections afforded to those held on U.S. soil. The Trump administration, however, maintains that it has the legal authority to detain migrants at Guantanamo. They cite the president's broad executive powers in matters of immigration and national security. However, legal experts argue that this interpretation of executive power is overly broad and sets a dangerous precedent. They warn that allowing the president to detain individuals indefinitely, without trial or access to legal counsel, undermines the very foundations of American justice. Beyond the legal challenges, the logistical hurdles associated with this plan are immense. Transporting tens of thousands of detainees to Guantanamo Bay will be a massive undertaking. It will require significant coordination between multiple government agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense. The cost of this operation, both in terms of financial resources and manpower, is expected to be substantial. The international community has not remained silent in the face of this controversial move. Governments, human rights organizations, and activists around the world have condemned the reopening of Guantanamo for migrant detention. They argue that it violates international human rights standards and sets a troubling example for other nations. The United Nations has called for an immediate halt to the plan, urging the U.S. to seek alternative solutions that respect the rights and dignity of migrants. European Union leaders have also voiced their disapproval, with some countries threatening to impose sanctions if the plan goes forward. Within the United States, the decision has sparked widespread protests and legal challenges. Civil rights groups have filed lawsuits, arguing that the executive order violates constitutional protections and international law. Lawmakers from both parties have called for congressional hearings to scrutinize the administration's actions. The future of this plan remains uncertain. As legal battles unfold and international pressure mounts, the Trump administration may be forced to reconsider or modify its approach. What is clear, however, is that this move has reignited a global debate about immigration, human rights, and the rule of law. As the situation develops, the world will be watching closely to see how the United States navigates this complex and contentious issue.